people are probably already asking, what is the Forever Agent? And we will get into it. And this is going to be a bit of an anthology. Each one of these points could be a 2-hour podcast in and of itself. We decided to come up with a podcast exclusively for the Forever Agent concept. I want to dive into this.
Well, here's what you should never ask. Never ask anybody, do you have any more questions? You ask open-ended questions at the beginning. You don't at the end, okay? Because if you say, have you any more questions, you could be there, it could all unravel. You've got to control it. Also, never say, well, gee, when would you like to get started? Because people have an approach avoidance conflict, Andrew, about getting started. And if they say, well, in a month or so, you're dead in the water. Ask and never start begging. Well, I'd really love to represent you because they'll sense you're overly concerned and anxious. Very comfortably, your first trial close. Well, based on our customized home marketing system, Andrew, in your opinion, do you feel that we can do an effective job of marketing your property? Now, you say we if you're not a big producer. If you're a big producer, in your opinion, do you believe that I can do an effective job of marketing property based on this plan? They're all going to say yes. Great. Now all I have is one last question. How soon would you love to have your magnificent home sold to the right buyer?
We missed one thing.
Good.
Okay.
I'm not going to say that then. Is there anything I should add?
Yes, you got to ask.
That's one way. Another way is this. Andrew, is there anything that you can think of from a marketing standpoint that is not in this customized marketing and networking plan that we should include?
I love asking that. Because You know what? They always say no.
There's nothing. Because years ago they would have said, well, can we be in the New York Times in the full run? They don't bring that up anymore because people know newspaper advertising doesn't sell real estate. So there's nothing they can think of, and it shows them that you have so comprehensive, you're so strategic, you're so sensitive, it's off to the races.
Well, it shows that you're confident.
But you have to have a closing technique, because if you don't have that, because that's the trial close. Is there anything that you can think of that is not part of my customized marketing and networking plan, that system that should be here, when they say no? Great. Now all I have is one last question. How soon would you like to have your magnificent home sold to the right buyer? Say in a month.
In a month.
Great. It's great to represent you. Let's get started. If they say to 3, great, we don't have time pressure, let's get started. That's going to help in negotiation. If they say right away, yeah, I wish I was here 2 weeks ago, but I'm happy at least we're getting started now. Boom, shake their hand.
Now, this is when you have to put it on a timeline. Now, this is when I used to give my entire marketing proposal on a timeline. I take out a pen, piece of paper, boom. And you want to put key dates around these items for the home seller so they can psychologically start taking ownership of this process. Because moving's a big deal. They're going to have to get all their stuff out. It's a really stressful situation. They say it's like the third most stressful event in people's lives behind death and divorce is moving. And it is tough, particularly with kids. That's why I have the program. Now,
the program, you mean moving with children?
Right.
Yeah.
See, this all bakes in. Now, when you do that trial close, is there anything you'd like to add that we can customize for your specific property that I may have missed? They say no. Okay, great. Now, let's talk a little bit about time frame. When would you like to have this truly distinctive, magnificent home formally on the market? Well, and a lot of times they'll say things like, well, we want to be out of here by December. We want to have Christmas in the new house, or whatever the case is. Great. Shake their hand. Trial close. Now, let me show you how this works.
By the way, Andrew, before you go any further, and I want you to get on your famous roll on this, if somebody says, well, we want to be out of here by December, again, I'm always making it feel good. I would then say like this, and I'm sure it's going to be very, very tough to leave this caliber of lifestyle. Always selling.
Yeah, and I'm not going to go into ways to where you can make sure you lock them in as a buyer on their next purchase, because that's a different topic. Good. But you go over this timeline. Now, we're going to have this provided for the network agents. Now, you have here's what everyone does at the bottom. Here's our 7-level step up of what we do differently here at the Sure Group of Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. And here's the timeline. Now, the timeline is so unbelievably important, because if you're going to take listings at scale, and that's what we all want to do, right now.
Amen. Like exactly.
We're taking 2, 3, 4, 5 a week. We have to have this timeline down so we can effectively serve this consumer properly and many consumers properly. And it goes back into the post too, which we're going to get to. So if they say, I want to be out of here by December, or we want to get the house on the market, within the month, the first step is here. Okay, so what is there anything we need to do to get this home ready? Because the most critical date that's in your control, and what we can only focus on what's in our control, is what day can we have our photographers come in and our full video crew to create this compelling content for our immense digital influence.
A photo marketing specialist.
Exactly. Is there anything we need to do to prepare? So now, well, I think that front door could get cleaned up. These windowsills are a little dirty. There's a couple ripped screens. This is easy stuff. We have a whole ecosystem that can solve these problems. Oh, you do? Great. Boom.
It's amazing how little has to be done.
Exactly. So you say, boom, what days it can be ready for photo video? So you say, hey, how about by 9/5, we'll have the home ready for photo video. We're going to come in and get the pictures. 3 days after that, we're going to start our targeted digital distribution. Guys, we're not on the market yet. So 3 days later, by 9/8, we're going to start marketing your property across all social media channels on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok. And again, we don't care if every 12-year-old on Instagram sees it. We want buyers most likely to buy your home to be interested. So here's who we're going to target. All the top agents, ecosystem, and our buyer profile demographics. And folks, I know who the buyer is for your home. They're between the ages of 28 and 55.
Wow.
And you have to be prepared for that. That's part of being proficient in preparation. You have to have your buyer avatar, your buyer profile demographics locked in. That's only if you want to market like the year we live in and be an elite marketer. And by the way, this is a marketing proposal. So boom, photo, video, targeted distribution. Then we can go coming soon by 9/15. Now coming soon is different in every market, but that's going to allow us to put the home officially into the IDX system without racking up days on market. We're not active, we're coming soon. This gives us additional leverage in controlling this ecosystem. And then, since you want to be out of here by December, I think active, a great day would be 9/27. So boom, photos 9/5, distribution 9/8, coming soon 9/15. You can only do that for 21 days. We're not going to use all 21, I think only 14, 9/27. First weekend is going to be October 4th. That's where we're going to do our content-rich open house. Typically.
This is amazing. You've got everything figured out.
Yeah, and you say, these dates are hypothetical. I just want to paint the picture so you guys can kind of feel what this is going to be like. Then we're going to be under contract probably within 30 to 45 days. This is where you got to be very careful and you have to understand your market dynamics. Because you're setting an expectation here. No other agent's got the guts to do this, but I do it every time. And oftentimes you're going to exceed expectations. I think we're going to go.
Mr. Andrew, this is so impressive because the last realtor that we used, they just assumed we knew all this like we're psychics. They didn't take us through all of this.
The timeline
is your industry changing? Is this what it means to be a forever agent?
Yeah, pretty much. So then you're going to contract 11/5, and then boom, typically 30 days after contract, 30 to 45 days, sometime in mid-December, we'll settle. And this is important, guys, so you can see even if we start in 2 weeks, we're 3 months away from you being out of here. This timeline is so critical, but then I always chunk it down. You're just cruising through that timeline. This is what we want to do. And I say, see all this stuff, and I circle everything before active, which would be prepares, photos, distribution coming soon. You circle it. Say, this is why you need a world-class marketing person. Because most agents stick a sign in the yard, pray to God someone's going to come and sell it, because their only tool is the IDX, and they need to be active to get buyers interested. We do all the heavy lifting up front.
No, those are listing agents instead of marketing agents.
That's a great distinction. Maybe that's what would you'd say. So you say, one key skill set, you need to have a really skilled world-class marketing system before you put the house.
Yeah, whatever you do, you never want to list with a listing agent.
You see, that's so smart because you're completely changing their paradigm.
That's the proclamation.
It is. Then you circle from active to under contract. In this section, when we're talking about going under contract, and folks, price is one thing, but it's also the terms are unbelievably important. Who's the buyer? What type of loan are they getting? How much are they putting down? Who's the title company? How many contingencies do they have? How long do they have to do these contingencies, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? You need to have a very skilled negotiator, and you have to have someone who's going to be looking out for your best interest, not just in the price, but in every single term, because we want the buyers to march to the beat of our drum. That's my job. I want to maximize your equity, and a lot of times it's through the terms, not just the price. So you need a marketer, and you also need someone who negotiates. And because we're so good at negotiation, that's why we're able to sell and close 2 homes a day, every day. And I know that means nothing to you, unless we can get the best for your house. And then I circle from contract to settlement. Once you're under contract and you get to settlement, there's a couple key things that I want to point out here. We're going to have to get through a home inspection. We're going to have to get through an appraisal. We're going to have to make sure these buyers get their financing and really quality, high-level communication with the buyer's lender. God bless them, most agents don't do that. They don't have a system for that because they think the buyer's agent's going to do it. But I know my job is to coach the buyer's agent on how to manage this
And Andrew, and
process
if they
properly.
use home team inspections, they do, I think, they have a team, so it's a lot faster too.
Oh yeah, shout out to Home Team Inspections. They're the only inspection company we know that sends a whole team of home
Right,
inspectors.
exactly.
So they don't take forever.
And they're one of our preferred vendors.
Well, forever agents don't want their home
Right,
inspections
yeah.
to take forever. That's why they hire Home
Exactly,
Team.
right.
So that contract to settlement's unbelievably important, Alex. Then you can say, you don't just need to be an incredible marketer, a skilled negotiator. You need to be a problem solver. You need to be able to effectively manage these ecosystems, because the last thing we're going to do is let this house go back on the market.
Wow.
Things come up during the home inspection.
Thank you, Mr. Undem, because that happened to us once. Thank you so much.
Then,
Thank you so much.
for me, when I'm presenting these things in real time, when I talk about the marketing, they're like, "Wow, no one does that. They don't make creative."
And Mr. Undem, as an older person, I almost feel funny calling you Mr. Undem, but geez, the way you're going to take care of us, I feel I should call you Mr. Undem. This is unbelievable.
And anytime you get a compliment, you say, "Hey, look, what I really want is to treat you so well and stuff as much money in your pockets as we possibly can, that you feel almost like you have to refer me to your friends and family because
Yeah.
you care about them."
In fact, I'm going to do such a great job for you that you're going to probably want to offer me an additional bonus, but I'm not going to accept it. But anyway.
See, these are great lines. Those are confident lines. You got to be careful with that because that can backfire. But if you're so confident, if you're so confident in your pre-marketing work, your negotiation, and your ability to make problems go away, right after look, money follows value. Fee follows value. You've already embedded it a couple times when you're going over the step up. We do this for our company standard 6%. As soon as I'm done hitting these three things, Alan, I go over what the seller's next. I said, "Hey, look, we talked a little bit about what we do to sell your home. Let's talk a little bit about what you're actually going to net. We do everything we just discussed for a company standard 6%. How much do you own the property? Boom. Okay, so you're going to keep 94% of the sales price. Boom. And you just flow right through it. It's not an event because money follows value. And if you can show an overwhelming amount of value through the 7-level step up, through the timeline, how you're specifically and uniquely able to navigate the marketing, the negotiation, the problem solving, that's when you hit them with the fee.
Andrew, do you think the reason that people have called this a listing presentation for years, and we actually still call the realtor who represents the home seller, which is unbelievable, the listing agent, because I think agents do more than just list the home. Do you think that's also why some realtors still even talk about a commission versus a marketing fee, because it comes out of the limited value of a listing presentation?
That's a really good insight. I haven't thought about that, so I'm going to have to think about it.
Because are there still agents that use the word commission?
I'm sure.
Yeah, okay. But I think that must be because doctors, lawyers, it's always a fee because they see that they have a higher value. But how could a listing agent have value? How could a listing presentation have value? It's a sales pitch.
Now, we have a whole nother podcast on fee validation and how to get your fee, maintain your fee, handle every single rebuttal you've ever heard. We're not going to go into that now. But if you remember at the beginning of the presentation of your customized marketing proposal, you said, "Hey, folks, would you guys like to start with some marketing strategies or some pricing strategies?" I brought both with you today because you're confident, consultative, collaborative, and in control. You're giving them the choice. We went through marketing. Again, you could, with a home seller, that might be 15, 20 minutes, maybe 25. We riffed on it for maybe
It's a
an hour.
buffet.
It's a buffet. But let's jump into pricing now.
It's a buffet, but there's structure here.
And then when you say so let's just say, let's talk about pricing. I'm really interested in pricing.
Okay, before we get to pricing, because you're not the homeowner, so I would never not respond to a homeowner, but I can't with us. One other thing that I wanted to add that I didn't, and that is this. When the home seller says, "How are you different?" Okay?
All right.
Or when you want to bring it up. Andrew, rather than focus on how I'm different, I'd much rather focus on how we have to make your property different. You see, I don't compete against other agents here in Metro Baltimore, but your home competes with other homes in the market. I actually cooperate with all the other agents, but your home doesn't cooperate. It competes. And not only does your home compete, but Bel Air competes against other towns. And that's what I'm going to share later. It's one of our other proclamations. A lot of agents just basically serve the community. I both serve this community, but I also represent it. I represent the home values of this entire community. I'm going to show you how I do that. But that's how I'm different. by focusing on what's different about your lifestyle.
And that comes up in home seller insights, if you remember in that first step.
That's one of the proclamations too.
Oh, absolutely. Serving versus representing. It's a distinction you made that I don't think anyone else in real estate's ever talked about. And again, that's going to be another.
But forever agents are going to become very familiar with it.
Oh, it's a cornerstone.
Yeah.
Because you can only access people through their concerns. And guess what? Every homeowner in Bel Air, because we're sitting here now, guess what they all have in common? They want their properties to increase.
The only way you have access to people is through their concerns. That's the concern. You've got to be all over that. And just to reinforce that.
You're going to want to rewind that and make sure you get that piece. How I'm different is because I focus on how to make your home different.
And you can even bring it up. You can even bring it up in terms of that.
I don't compete with other agents. I actually cooperate with other agents, but unfortunately, your home doesn't cooperate with other homes. It competes with other homes. So we need to find a way to make your home stand out, be unique, so I can effectively manage my ecosystems and influence buyers and buyers agents and the public at large on the unique.
Or you can say this, Andrew. The only a lot of homeowners, a lot of my clients have asked me over the years, Alan, what makes you or your company different? And I always like to say, folks, you're hearing it for the third time, forgive us. Folks, rather than focus on how I'm different, I'd rather focus how we have to make your property different, because I don't compete against other agents, but your home competes against other homes in this county. But if you really want to, I'm not comfortable personalizing my differentiation, but I guess if you'd like me to, I'll just say this. Most realtors focus on how they sell more homes. I sell more homes than 99% of realtors, but that's not my focus. My focus is marketing homes for more. Okay, that's what makes me different. But I can't make your home different unless you work with me, because we have to be the co-authors of this narration.
You know, most agents are going to come and give you a listing presentation, which you probably don't even know what that is because it's a term we've dragged as an industry for 200 years. I go over customized marketing proposals. So guys, you have to play with this stuff, make it your own, and own it. Because when you own it, only when and if you own this stuff, that's the only way you're going to be confident.
Yeah, and the reason our company has sold $8 billion is because of the amazing job we do with cooperating with all the other companies. That's how you eliminate them, by including them.
It's beautiful. Now, before we wrap it up, I want to touch on pricing, and we don't have to go super in depth on your three-level pricing strategy, but I want you to go over that. Yeah. And then I'm going to talk about post, and then we'll go over this timeline one more time so you can see it in a kind of comprehensive fashion. So assuming the home seller says, Alan, I'd like to start with pricing.
Well, that's not unusual because most of my clients do. So let's get to price. Andrew, I provide my clients with 3 distinct pricing strategies. Some of my clients want to price their property based on what we call the data approach, based on either a CMA, an appraisal. Okay, we can talk about those terms later if you'd like. And the reason they select strategy number 1 is because, number 1, they want to make sure their home appraises out. Number 2, they don't want to offend the pricing sensibilities of buyer agents. And some of these people, they're not just selling for economic reasons, they're selling for lifestyle reasons. They want to get on and move next to the grandkids or whatever. So that's strategy number 1. Strategy number 2 is some of our clients, they want to basically price their property on what we refer to as the less is more pricing strategy. That being that some of our home sellers very astutely understand that in certain markets, although I don't think this is one, an ascending value market, that oftentimes by pricing their property a little bit under what the market will support, it can actually create competition and even a bidding war. That's strategy number 2. Strategy number 3 is a very popular strategy. A lot of our clients want to price their property at what I call the retail pricing strategy. That being that they want to strategically price their property a little higher than the data would support in anticipation of buyers wanting to negotiate. Now, based on these 3 choices, just philosophically, which one just seems the most comfortable and suitable for you, Andrew? Now, no matter what they say, they'll usually say this, but Alan, what are we talking about? What's the data? Now, let me explain why that 3-level is so powerful. Because it's strategic. See, a lot of agents have been taught to go into a home, and say, well, Andrew, I went into my computer. This column here is homes on the market. That would be your competition. Now, as I like to say, I'm saying this mockingly because otherwise it might sound pretty good. A lot of this is homes on the market. That would be your competition. This is days on the market. This is list of sales price. Okay, this is withdrawals. These are expires. Here's some macro information on the economy. Here's some micro. That's a very highly ineffective way because in the information age, data and information have the lowest level of value, as you know, Andrew.
Right.
Knowledge and wisdom have the highest value. You don't want to be a data monger. You want to come out and tenderize the home seller first with your knowledge and wisdom before you get to the data. You're still going to get to the data. Data's data, okay? But you're not going to use words like, let's take a look at the comps, because that's the meaning. And everybody says, well, that's like saying, let's take a look at some comparable children. And anytime anyone uses the word comps, every home seller I ever met would say, but they don't have 5 bedrooms. They don't have a new kitchen. And so what you want to do is that you want to basically be there because you're there as a consultant working on a pricing strategy that's collaborative as opposed to just price. That's what an appraiser does. But unfortunately, a lot of realtors don't go through the strategy of asking themselves, okay, what percentage of realtors overprice their own home? What percentage of homeowners have a price in mind? What percentage of homeowners post-COVID like the data? 0. What does that make you? The bearer of bad news. What happens to the bearer of bad news? Shoot the messenger. So you've got to stay away from starting off with the data. First introduce knowledge, then get to the data.
This is a game-changing concept when you can wrap your head around these pricing strategies.
And it's, again, the power of threes.
The power of threes. So you have the data approach, the less is more approach, and the retail approach. And Alan and the GOAT, Gino Blafari himself, have this in our Learn Center where they go on.
And Gino, by the way, was the number one listing agent in a county of 2 million people for many years in competitive Silicon Valley. So I was on several hundred marketing presentations. Gino's a prolific so-called listing agent. So this is in theory.
This is in theory, and to make it one step even more less theory is, we've already closed on over $100 million of listings that I've personally been involved in this year. That's, we're only 8 months in.
2022.
Anytime the pricing strategy comes up, you always go through the 3-level pricing strategy, starting at wisdom and knowledge, not just hitting them with the data. And then this is where I take it away from all the other agents, because sometimes you are competing. You say, you know what I don't do, Mr. Allen? I don't come in here and pretend to know what your home is worth before I've actually seen it, before I can actually understand and contextualize the value of this property through the 7-level step up. So what I don't do is come in here and pretend to know and show you data and try to put a price on your home. I don't do what you may have heard of as a CMA. I don't do the comp thing. I do what's called a master market analysis only after I've seen and understood the property. So I'm going to go back and by tomorrow at 5, I'm going to send you a master market analysis with my 3 prices throughout the pricing strategy. And in that email, I'm going to put down all of our timeline steps, all of the key things that we went over today, and put it all there for you. And we can go from there. People love that because anyone who comes in there and tries to guess the price of your home is gambling with their client's equity. And it's unacceptable. Every home, I've never had someone push back, no, give me a price on my home. Hey, this is a strategic exercise.
Let me give you 2 other things on pricing.
Yes.
From the buffet here. Folks, I don't want to help you select the highest possible price. I want to help you select the highest realistic price. See, the homeowner wants the highest, the agent wants realistic. This is a comforting synthesis on both ends.
Right.
Here's something else that I said for years. But speaking of price, you would never not list with us over price. We wouldn't let that happen. If you want to go to the moon on the price, I'll go there with you, but I know that's not what you want. Because I don't want to help you put the highest possible price because that will hurt you because of the stigma of longevity. You'll actually hurt yourself, okay? But what you've got to do is you've got to eliminate all choices because sometimes an agent may recommend a range from $675 to $690, and the homeowner next week lists for 715, and then a month later they reduce it to 680 and it sells for 650, that agent just lost a lot of money because they were boxed in. You should never lose a listing over price unless you make the decision. You should be the person that walks away. You should never, ever allow a person not to select you because they made that decision over price. If it's not where you want it to be, walk away. But there's a lot of realtors that have lost a lot of listings that if they had gone to that price, they would have ended up making a commission because a lot of listings in certain markets have price reductions. That's just the reality of that. So that's the type of another good question is this, to ask a home seller, but speaking of price, Andrew, what price did you have in mind? Well, Alan, you tell me you're the expert. Right. No, I am an expert, but it doesn't mean it's going to be our pricing strategy, but I'm just curious. You folks, you really have a good sense of the marketplace. What price did you have? And then they'll go like this. Well, the Joneses home sold for $500,000. Never say, oh no, it listed for that, but it sold for $450,000. Don't bust the bubble of home sellers, okay? That's cruel. Later on, when you're showing them the data, he mentioned the Jones, that sold for $450,000. Go right about your business. People respect the difference. But if you say, what price did you have in mind? Sometimes a person will go like this. Well, Andrew, if we can't get $600,000, we can't move to North Carolina. Well, that is one approach to pricing, Andrew, the personal approach method. But respectfully, if I can talk to you like I know you, buyers aren't going to come up and say, Alan, how much do they need to move to North Carolina? We can't price it on that. We also can't price it on square footage because there's a lot of there's square footage within this square footage. We can't price property based on replacement cost because there's homes in Metro Baltimore, some of the older neighborhoods, that would cost $3 million to replace that we can't sell for $800,000. So we can't take that. We can't take inflation, okay? And the only method that we're allowed to use is to the best of our ability, try to determine what buyers are willing to today by looking at buyer behavior. And even though your home is different, that's why we don't use the word comp. Let's take a look at properties which buyers will be evaluating at the same time they're evaluating your property, even though your property is completely different. So let's take a look at this property, okay? Now, if you were coming into the market, knowing what you know, what would you offer for your home? See, they've never been asked to put themselves in the buyer prism, okay, like that. And then never say to a home seller, well, it's a little high, Andrew, but we can try it at that price. Well, we can try being married. Never speak that way. You say, if you're going to go to that higher range, you know what? I think we're setting a little bit of a precedent in terms of square footage, in terms of what's sold in the neighborhood. And I'll go there. And by the way, I will fight with every scintilla of my body to get you this price. But if we see the response is adverse, we're going to have to change the shelf positioning because we'll know one thing. It's not because of my marketing, because this is the best marketing in the world, okay? But I will fight with everything I have to deliver a price around that ballpark. But if it doesn't, we're going to have to make an adjustment.
That's beautiful. And in the spirit of just kind of having a buffet on the pricing, and again, I encourage everyone to go to the Learn Center and listen to Alan and Gino on this. I heard Mark Stark say, and he's such a big fan of the process, and this is a great process, what we've outlined today. He says, if you take a room full of real estate agents, and it might sound like this to a homeowner, hey, we go around the country and we have this beautiful network here with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. We said, hey, in a room full of top agents, how many people here were surprised at how high a home is sold recently? Every hand goes up. Do you want to know why? Because we don't know the price.
Exactly.
We can't control the price. Now, we do need a strategic launching price, which is why we have 3 pricing strategies. But I can't control the exact price, but I can control the process. And we have a process timeline that maximizes our seller's equity. And the other beautiful thing about the 3 pricing strategies is it gives you some outs. If they select the retail pricing strategy, say, yeah, I am trying to get you as much as I possibly can, and it's that. And what Alan just went over is how to preemptively get a price reduction. Or if it's the less is more, hey, you priced that too low. Yeah, that was part of our strategy.
Exactly.
Remember?
They're involved.
Yeah, we had 6 offers.
We're not paid to be appraisers. The forever agents are paid to be pricing strategists or the consultant. Now, here's something else. When somebody uses the word comps, this is what the homeowner thinks. How could we possibly list with this agent when this agent doesn't even understand the fulsomeness and the distinctiveness of our property? So therefore, whatever their pricing recommendations is inherently flawed because they've just manifested they haven't captured the distinctiveness of our home. The other thing is this. Anytime you're asking a person for a price reduction, never be the bearer of bad news directly. Say this, Andrew, only if it's true. Andrew, I've got tremendous feedback about your landscaping, your backyard, your privacy, the fact that your property is all brick, you're deep into the the country club community through the meandering tree-lined street. So I've gotten tremendous feedback on your home. But unfortunately, buyers aren't willing to go over $1 million, even for homes as captivating as yours. That's one thing. The second thing is this. Never be the person who points out the flaws. One of the challenges that we had is that I had a few agents, and I would name their companies. I had a few agents with so-and-so company, because I make sure they never want to list with them. I had a few agents from so-and-so company. They were saying that their problem is that their buyers said that they didn't like your kitchen. The kitchen was outdated. I'm never going to be the bearer of bad news. I'm going to deliver that message. The other thing, in terms of price, a lot of agents have actually said this when they present their first offer. Well, Andrew, oftentimes the first offer is the best offer. That's outrageous. If you're ever going to say that, you have to first, again, tenderize the home seller. When you're making your marketing proposal, as part of explaining your negotiating philosophy, to say, and by the way, Andrew, I have an ethical responsibility to present all offers. Now, sometimes the first offer is going to be the worst offer, and sometimes it may be the best offer. And because of my knowledge, I'll be able to counsel you on what I think. Therefore, when later you're saying oftentimes the first offer, because otherwise they may think that you are nudging them because you're afraid that the listing may be expiring, or that an extra $50,000 is just a few $100 to you, but it's a game changer for them. And they may think that the agent is more focused on just getting the home sold than the amount. And you've got to be careful to conceal that self-serving attitude.
There's so much we can go into more on price, but in the spirit of just comprehensively going over the customized home marketing proposal, I want to get to the last P, which is the post work. And I'll take this one because this is something, as a modern day practitioner, we always have to get into. And I have a checklist. After I've went through the 7-level step up, well, here's what everybody does. Here's the 7 things we do differently. Here's how it feels and looks on a timeline. I'm going to get back to you with a master market analysis. I send them the email follow-up with the link, with the entire pricing strategy. I review all the market data. I go over the market dynamics, and I let them know. And you educate them a little bit, because the number one way to gain trust is to educate somebody. Not in a pedantic manner, but just to show them this is what's going on in the market. Here's the month supply of inventory. Here's the absorption rate. Here's the velocity. You are seen as an expert because you know what? Real estate agents don't talk like that, but forever agents do. You confirm all the dates. Hey, can we please confirm September 7th is the best day that me and my photographer and our photo video crew can come over? And then you explain how you're going to follow up with them. People want to know what's going to happen before it happens, which is why the timeline's important. And this last piece of this post follow-up is important. You say, well, you can also ask, how would you like the communication to go? Because it's collaborative. You say, typically home sellers want an update every Monday after the weekend. So if it's okay with you, I'd like to check in. I'm going to send you a video email. Now, I like doing video email, and some of the other forever agents might like it as well. You want to know why? Because you can get all your points out on video in a compelling fashion, and they don't get to talk back. Because they don't get to interrupt you. And then once they've digested your information, you can have a conversation as well. Now, there's a lot of ways to service a listing. Alan just went over some of the points on how to get price reductions should that come up. And by the way, that will be coming back as inventory creeps up and days on market creep up. And we kind of normalize what's been going on here. And right now it's the mid 2022. But that is the preparation. That is how you present and propose. There's so much more on pricing. In negotiation strategy, explaining the seller's your negotiation strategy, we didn't get into it, but I want to save that for another time because that kind of goes into fee validation and rebuttals. And then the post. But before we wrap this up, Alan, anything else you want to add on the Forever Agent customized marketing proposal?
Yes, you have mentioned on a few occasions that you don't do a CMA, you do an MMA. That is also one of the Forever Agent 34 proclamations. Because a lot of agents want to focus on how they're different, but it seems like everybody's doing the same thing.
Right.
There's no law, and there's nothing in the Constitution that people have to use the letter CMA. But for some reason, everybody just does it.
Same thing with listings.
What's the difference between a CMA and an MMA? A master market analysis. A CMA will give a home seller an estimate of value. An MMA, a master market analysis, both give somebody an estimate of value, fair market value, but also things they can do to enhance their value. So when Christy Budnick talks about being invaluable, what makes an agent invaluable? Doing a CMA like everybody else, here's a fair market estimate, or an MMA also showing people how they can enhance your value. We should look to achieve differentiation at every step along the way.
Well, all this stuff is interconnected.
You
just brought up the fact that we don't use lazy listing language, the fact that we don't do listing presentations, the fact that we don't use the word comps, the fact that we have a master market analysis, and it's a lot more than what Alan just said, but he's giving you a cursory overview. It includes 3 pricing strategies. It includes how to enhance your home. It includes some of the content-rich stuff we use in open houses inside the master market analysis. And we're going to do a podcast on master market analysis, and you guys can call it what you want. That's what Alan and I have called what we do, as opposed to a CMA. But you guys got to own this stuff. And I just have to say, when I gave this talk in Omaha, I can't tell you how many people came up to me and said, "Can I please have a copy of this?" And this was a prototype we made, and we're still working on it. So if you heard things you like, and I'm sure you did, at least a couple little things you might be able to incorporate into your next marketing proposal, then we all have Alan to thank for this, because you created the home marketing system decades ago. There's a video that we're going to link to this podcast of you going over why you have to have a home marketing system, and it's so unbelievably powerful. And as a student, if you're like me and a student of this game, I love hearing how you develop these marketing systems, not just for our brand and this latest and greatest version that I've been very fortunate to collaborate on, but what you did for 6 other national brands. So I just want to say thank you so much.
One little addendum that I think is important has to do with the content again. 71%, 72% of people have a pet. As you've heard me say, I actually think home sellers love their pets more than realtors, right?
Sure.
And I wonder how many of our Forever Agents make it a point to every single marketing presentation they go on to tell the homeowner, and by the way, at the open houses, I bring moving with pets and moving with children. This is common sense. Now, if a home seller has pets, they automatically like you. They think you're sensitive and respectful. I have pets. I love my pets. And that's a great way to really connect with people. So it's not just to have a content-rich open house. It's to show the home seller how you're going to add to the value of their open house and tie into human issues like the love of pets. And it's so simple, but that point would never be made on a coaching program or a training program, because that's all at the micro level. They're not at the macro level. They can't deal with our brand. They can't deal with our differentiation. That's why I took the train down from New York to Baltimore late last night after doing a pledge rally for several hundred agents.
1,000.
Because this is so important for the network. And thank you, Andrew, for the immense credibility, charisma, and competency that you're bringing to the Forever Agent movement. It's indispensable.
Well, that's it for the episode number 3, changing your listing presentation to a customized forever marketing proposal and system. And stay tuned. There's plenty more where that came from. There's 34 of these proclamations. This is the first time we actually spent the entire podcast on one, and it won't be the last. Thanks for tuning in.